On the morning of June 20, 2001, a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Houston, Texas, seemed completely ordinary. Children were playing. Neighbors were leaving for work. Families were beginning another normal day. Inside one house, however, something unthinkable had already happened. 5 children. All under the age of 8. All gone. And standing inside the home was their mother. Calm. Silent and waiting. When police arrived, there was no sign of forced entry. No evidence of a struggle. No mysterious intruder. No serial killer. Who was responsible for this? This is the tragic true story of a devoted mother, Andrea Yates. To outsiders, the Yates family appeared deeply devoted. Andrea and her husband, Rusty, were raising 5 children. They were religious, private and focused on family life. Andrea dedicated nearly every moment of her day to caring for her children. Friends often described her as loving and attentive, but behind closed doors, something was deteriorating. Something invisible. Something far more dangerous than anyone realized. After the births of her children, Andrea began experiencing serious mental health problems. She suffered from severe depression. She experienced episodes of psychosis and she heard voices. She developed frightening delusions. Doctors warned that her condition was serious. Very serious. There were hospitalizations. Psychiatric treatment and medication. Moments when professionals feared she might harm herself or others. For brief periods, she improved. Then she declined again. Each relapse appeared worse than the one before. And by 2001, Andrea's grip on reality was slipping. Mental illness can be difficult to understand from the outside. Someone may appear calm, normal, and even functional, while internally, their world is collapsing. Andrea began developing disturbing beliefs. She became convinced that she was a bad mother. Not simply imperfect but evil. She believed Satan was influencing her family. She became obsessed with ideas of eternal damnation, punishment, salvation. The line between reality and delusion blurred and then disappeared entirely. Doctors had warned that she required close monitoring, but mental illness doesn't follow schedules. It doesn't announce itself. And sometimes, tragedy unfolds in the briefest window of time. On the morning of June 20th, Rusty left for work. The children remained home with Andrea. As they had countless times before. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing appeared different. But inside Andrea's mind, a terrifying belief had taken hold. She later described believing that her children were destined for eternal suffering because of her failures as a mother. In her delusional state, she became convinced there was only one way to save them. One way to protect their souls. What happened next would shock the world. One by one, Andrea brought her children to a bathroom. One by one, their lives ended. The youngest was 6 months old. The oldest was 7 years old. When it was over, the house fell silent. 5 children. All gone. A family destroyed forever. Afterward, Andrea did something unexpected. She didn't run. She didn't hide evidence. She didn't invent a story. Instead, she picked up the phone and called for help. When police arrived, she confessed almost immediately. There was no mystery about who had done it. The mystery was why. Officers quickly realized they were dealing with something unlike most murder investigations. Andrea wasn't trying to avoid responsibility. She wasn't denying her actions. She openly acknowledged what had happened, but she described a reality that investigators couldn't see. A reality built on psychosis, delusion, and overwhelming mental illness. She believed she had saved her children, and she believed she had acted out of love. And that belief would leave investigators, doctors, and an entire nation asking the same terrifying question: what happens when the most dangerous enemy isn't evil, but a mind that can no longer distinguish reality from delusion? As news spread across America, public reaction was immediate and deeply divided. Many people viewed Andrea as a monster. 5 innocent children had died. For them, nothing else mattered. Others saw something different. A woman whose severe psychiatric condition had spiraled beyond control. A woman who needed treatment rather than condemnation. The debate became fierce. Where should society draw the line between criminal responsibility and mental illness? Could someone understand their actions while simultaneously being disconnected from reality? The questions had no easy answers, and the courtroom would soon become the battleground where those answers were tested. The trial attracted worldwide attention. Psychiatrists took the stand. Medical experts analyzed years of treatment records. Jurors heard testimony about depression, psychosis, delusions, religious obsessions, suicidal thoughts, and repeated warnings from healthcare professionals. The prosecution argued that Andrea understood what she was doing. The defense argued that severe mental illness had completely distorted her perception of reality. Every day of testimony revealed a tragic picture. Not a criminal mastermind. Not a calculating killer. But a woman whose mind had become consumed by illness. Yet 5 children were still dead, and the court had to determine accountability. The first trial ended with a conviction. But the story wasn't finished. Years later, serious issues emerged regarding testimony presented during proceedings. A new trial was ordered, and this time, the outcome would be dramatically different. During the second trial, jurors once again examined Andrea's mental condition. This time, they reached a different conclusion because they saw a devoted mother who was struggling with severe mental illness. Andrea Yates was found not guilty by reason of insanity. The verdict sparked intense reactions. Some people felt justice had failed. Others believed it finally recognized the reality of severe mental illness. Following the verdict, Andrea was committed to a mental health facility rather than a traditional prison, where she remains under psychiatric care. Even decades later, the debate surrounding the case continues. The Andrea Yates case remains one of the most heartbreaking tragedies in true crime history. Because unlike many infamous cases, there is no clear villain. No hidden conspiracy. No sinister plot for money or power. Only loss. 5 innocent children whose futures were stolen. A family shattered forever, and a mother whose mind became a prison long before any courtroom became involved. For investigators, doctors, and legal experts, the case became a powerful reminder of how devastating untreated or uncontrolled mental illness can be. For the public, it challenged assumptions about motherhood, responsibility, and the limits of human understanding. And perhaps that is why this story continues to haunt people today. Because sometimes the most terrifying cases are not about evil. Sometimes they are about tragedy. About a mind losing its battle with reality and the innocent lives caught in the path of that collapse. That if you found this case compelling, subscribe for more true crime stories where the truth is far more complex, and far more unsettling, than it first appears.